Russian-installed officials in Crimea declared a state of emergency today in the face of intensified Ukrainian drone strikes on the peninsula. Now, long lines have been forming heading to the bridge that joins Crimea to southern Russia. CNN's Ivana Korosova joins us now from London. You've been monitoring what is going on there. What more can you tell us about the situation right now in Crimea?
Well, Becky, the situation is pretty bad. Crimea is becoming very, very uncomfortable place to live. So there are widespread power cuts across the peninsula, and the local authorities are warning residents that their power is not likely to come back anytime soon. And that's because Ukrainians are continuing to strike the power supplies, which makes any kind of repair works really impossible. There are also fuel shortages, so much so that many gas pumps across the peninsula have run out of fuel, and the ones that have fuel have been banned from selling fuel to individual drivers. So it is really no surprise that people are trying to get out of Crimea as quickly as possible, and that's why we are seeing these huge queues of thousands of cars, because it turns out that even the escape route is becoming impossible, because the only way out of Crimea directly to Russia is through the bridge, and that bridge is also a target for the Ukrainians. So Russia has to shut it down on a regular basis, and the queues are becoming longer and longer.
What do you think this situation tells us, if anything, about the trajectory of the wider war? And where are we at on that? At this point, is there any sort of direction of travel with regard a peace deal?
The situation in Crimea really shows that Ukraine has been able to put a lot more pressure on Russia in recent months. So Kiev really increased the intensity and frequency of its medium strikes and longer range strikes against Russia. And it's really trying to bring the war home to sort of everyday Russians who live far away from the front lines and who have in recent years not really been forced to think about the war. So remember, Becky, Crimea was illegally annexed by Russia in 2014. It was one of the opening moves of Russia's war on Ukraine. And since then, President Putin has really invested a lot of effort into turning Crimea into sort of a crown jewel of what he calls new regions of Russia. Russia has invested heavily in Crimea and tries to turn it into a resort, into a tourist destination. And it really worked for a while. Crimea was a popular destination for Russian tourists, especially after Russia started the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, when many European countries banned Russian tourists from coming. So it was working, the plan was working for a few years, but now with these frequent strikes, power cuts, fuel shortages, this plan is in pieces, and it really shows that the war is not going the way that Russian President Vladimir Putin was planning. So while we are seeing more of a stalemate along the front lines, I would say that at the moment, while maybe it's not quite right to say Ukraine is winning the war, I'd say it is fair to say that Russia is definitely losing more.
A striking shift in tone from President Trump on Ukraine. He is now praising Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. That's a sharp reversal from his earlier criticism. CNN's Kevin Liptak explains.
After quite a rocky start, President Trump appears increasingly enthusiastic about the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. In the Oval Office on Wednesday, President Trump said that Zelensky was doing pretty well, no matter how you look at it. He said that Zelensky was, quote, holding his own, that he was courageous, and that he's got great men. All of it a distant cry from the president's very bitter Oval Office meeting with Zelensky very early in his term last year, in which which he essentially yelled at Zelensky that he has no cards. Now, in the months since then, the Ukraine war has ground on. It doesn't seem as if it's approaching any kind of conclusion in the near term. President Trump at the G7 summit in France last week had a chance to meet with Zelensky and emerge from that session appearing as if he had a renewed sense in how he might bring that conflict to an end. He also signed on to a surprisingly pro-Ukraine statement at the G7 that was brokered by the French President Emmanuel Macron. Now, the real question is whether this newfound approach to Zelensky is enduring, whether this is just a phase in the president's sort of back and forth approach to the conflict, or whether he has a newfound respect for the Ukrainian leader. I think the hope among Europeans and the Ukrainians certainly is that now that the Iran war appears to be in the rearview mirror for now, that President Trump will be refocused on trying to bring the conflict in Ukraine to an end. The hope for the Europeans is that perhaps President Trump may broker a new meeting between Zelensky and Putin and President Trump at the table as well to try and figure out how to bring the war to an end. The issue I think that the president has been facing is that Moscow and the Russian President Vladimir Putin do not seem in any particular hurry to end the fighting there. There's no sense that there's been a new peace framework that would redraw some of the battle lines, resolve some of those questions of territorial concessions in a way that all sides can agree to. So for now, even though President Trump does seem as if he's warming to Zelensky and warming to the Ukrainians' point of view, at this point does not seem as if he has any new approach that would bring the fighting to an end permanently.
I do want to move on to Ukraine, especially given your experience. I mean, look, you and I both saw that the G7 leaders say they want this Iran conflict done and dusted. They supported the MOU. How much do you believe that can clear the way for attention and resources to now concentrate on Ukraine? We saw the NATO Secretary General in the Oval yesterday trying to set the table for the NATO summit to come. I mean, you're in Poland right now, right? How crucial is it that maybe finally they can get to some kind of ceasefire, to have Vladimir Putin agree to that if they can't get to a deal?
Right. Well, I think, talking with Europeans here in Poland, there's a little bit of a sigh of relief that the U.S. has been distracted from the Russia-Ukraine war, because U.S. involvement has been one of supporting Putin and putting pressure on Ukraine, which none of them agree with. So it's been a nice respite. During that respite, Ukraine has turned the tide of the war. Ukraine now has an advantage over Russia in drones, counter drones, electronic warfare, long-range strikes with strategic impact, as opposed to what Russia does, which has civilian impact. Taking out Russian logistics, Crimea is now in a very perilous position because of the inability of Russia to provide supplies, including fuel. So this war has taken a turn in Ukraine's favor. The U.S. has been largely out of it for the past several months, partly because of the war against Iran. And I think seeing that Russia is gradually losing and Ukraine is gradually winning, President Trump and the Trump administration have gradually taken a more Ukraine supportive, or at least a soft line with respect to Ukraine, thinking that they actually might come out ahead here. And that's been very welcome.
Ambassador Volker, though, I just want to lean on your experience. How does NATO, the European allies, get this over the line? Because we could still be heading into another winter here with this conflict continuing.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I do think another winter is the most likely scenario. But the only way this war ends, let's be clear about this. Vladimir Putin started this war. The only reason it continues is because he still thinks he can defeat Ukraine and take over its territory and its leadership. And he is not persuaded otherwise. But he is losing. He is losing territory, he's losing troops, he's losing money. And at a certain point, Putin is going to need a ceasefire. If we want to accelerate an end to the war, we have to increase that pressure on Putin so he thinks that he needs a ceasefire sooner rather than later. At this stage, people are helping. Europe is helping. They've given Ukraine a 90 billion euro loan to invest in its industry. But Putin still thinks he can ride this out. The more we can pile on, the better. It's possible to get a ceasefire this year, but I think Putin wants one more shot at Ukraine's electricity grid this winter before he finally gives it up.
Yeah, your words are chilling to anyone in Ukraine right now, but we'll see what happens in this NATO summit, as again, those leaders are clear that they want Iran done so that they can concentrate on Ukraine. Ambassador Volker, once again, thanks so much for your insights. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching. Drop your opinions in the comment section. Let us know what you think. For more news and updates like this, subscribe. I really appreciate your time for watching. Bye for now.